Actually, I will ask you a hypothetical. If Pilsudski had survived, would he have done a peace deal in 1939 with the Germans for Danzig?
I don't think so. I don't think that Hitler would have agreed to anything. But he had a. I mean, Piłsudski had a plan.
He did.
I don't know. For it, the plan was they started to planning it, developing this plan shortly after Hitler came to power in 1933 to invade Germany and subordinate it, disrupt this process of rapid rearmament of Germany at the time when it was yet disarmed. And it might have changed a lot. If our authorities would manage to create any kind of approval or from France or England or otherwise they would create a kind of a coalition to guarantee that Germany would be under control. That would change history for sure. But unfortunately, nobody had the guts to attack Germany at the early 1930s.
No, not
But
even when.
it was possible, you probably know, but other people who are listening to this may not know that Germany at the time yet was defenseless, almost defenseless.
Yes.
And it was possible. And I mean, what is saying a good thing about Piłsudski is that he had a visionary mind, and he was able to predict where it leads to. I mean, the unhindered rearmament of Germany, which didn't get to the for example, French or British or English governments even in 1939.
And it's interesting. Goering and Pilsudski got along well because they were starting to make plans until Hitler didn't want to let him go forward because it
Yeah.
seemed he really didn't want to go to war either. But it's an interesting hypothetical that if that then had happened,
But
then
I'm not.
when would Stalin have come? Because
Yeah,
Stalin would still have wanted to invade Poland. Eventually.
Yeah.
But that's
I'm not very good at it in this because I was writing books about something else mostly.
well, we're going to have to talk about the other book because there's every time I mention your name or I think you out loud, somebody will ask me to ask you about what is new in with regards to Project Riese and what's going on in Silesia and what's new and have anybody found the bell and
No, nobody has found the bell, and I'm not writing a book about it anymore for
I know
10 years or something like that, and nobody has found the bell, but there is a lot going on out there. I could describe very strange things going on. I
yes
mean,
please.
interest on the part of various uh, I don't know, agencies or parties or groups of people.
Yes please do.
Very strange things were going on. It started in 1945 when the Soviets have left there. I mean, in the Ludwikowice/Ludwigsdorf, where the Henge, so-called Henge is, they left their 2 battalions of their troops
That's
to
a lot.
look into this place, and they stayed there for a couple. I mean, I don't remember exactly, but it was about a year or two. and already in 1945, and after that, until the present times, there are still strange things going on out there, strange interests. I remember, I I'm not prepared to describe everything now from memory, but I remember I was there a year ago, and I saw after when I with my colleagues were driving nearing this mountain massive out there. We saw three C-130 Hercules with U.S. markings flying very low and very slowly over these mountains, where there is no airfield out there, nothing that would justify such a low flight. It was so low and so slow that I was able to count these stripes on the U.S. flag on the tail. Such a gray and in various shades of gray.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many of them were there now, but I was able and later on, I mean, the next day when I was talking with a guy who's living there, he told me that they fly over this area along the same path every year, once a year. And once there was even an U.S. Humvee seen in the forest with some devices in front of the fenders, resembling such a, there is such a microwave devices to detect mines in front of the
Yeah.
vehicle. It resembles something like that. And these are just two small examples from the beginning of the story and from the last days. I mean, from the last year. But all the time there are strange things going on. There is a still interest in this, as if something important was still out there.
I mean, do you remember when we met 4 years ago? And I had been doing quite a bit of talking about. I started the Last Nazi Secret series, and I've been talking about it. And I just came from there when I saw you in Warsaw, and somebody had threatened me in one of the tours where I've been around with the individual historians, but I just took a tour because I wanted to see. I don't remember if you. It wasn't you. The big one with the with the factory on top, and I was in a tour with just a group of people as well, and I was like taking pictures and looking up, and somebody stepped up next to me and said, "Herr Struckmann, not everybody wants to know what was there. Some things are best left alone." And then, and I and then he walked away, and I thought for a second, well, wait a minute, how the hell does he know my name? Because I was just going to respond to it. Well, and why do you know my name? Who are you? And there was 30 other people in the tour, and I never recognized it. I came outside first, and I looked at every single one of them as if, like, is it you? Was it you? Was it you? I never found out who it was. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, such a things. I have experienced similar encounters as well.
but is the Polish government blocking any explorations? Is it not possible to search? Um,
Uh, I'm not sure if it may be called blocking, but several years ago, I don't remember exactly when it was. It was about 10 years ago. There has emerged an Australian company uh, who wanted to make research drills over this mine
mhm.
out there that was, converted into I mean, taken over by the SS during the war
Yeah,
and converted into a industrial or research facility, probably because there are bunkers on it. And the company, the Australian company, wanted to gain access to the documentation of this former mine from our ministry, and I hope that I will not break any, state secret by saying this, but uh, they the ministry didn't want to give them the documentation of this mine, to which they were entitled by law, and it ended up in court. And the court is ordered the ministry to release this documentation. And after that, it has turned out that this documentation was lacking 50 pages,
Of course.
despite the court order.
Yeah.
And I hope that what I say is not any secret, but it means that it may be it suggests, as if somebody knew something about what is there, and as if it would be still, guarded, so to speak. I don't know how to say it, but it's
There's,
one of such a it's just one of such a strange stories.
I
But
remember,
I I don't have to add that this company that wanted to make this research drills um, disappeared after executing this task.
really, that
Yeah.
is almost the same as something that happened in Jonastal, where S3 out in Ordorf,
Hmm.
where a several Jewish from researchers, historians showed up with relation to Israel and the Israeli embassy, and said what they wanted to drill and research into a hill where far from the tunnels we know of, but there's apparently tunnels everywhere, because they had documentation that there was the corpses of dead prisoners in there. And as you can imagine, in Germany, if you show up from Israel and you're of Jewish heritage and you ask for that, you get whatever you want. So they got all the permits. They started drilling. They were looking for some things, and they hired a local company to look and take pictures in the underground and tunnels. And they got their information, and then they disappeared, and they never paid the bill. And the companies still has their information. They said they'll sell it for 20,000 euros because they haven't been paid. Uh, and there's no information through the Israeli embassy who these people were. They haven't been forthcoming. But it seems that there are still, you're right, same thing. People are looking. And of course, so now if you go out there and you want to start looking or drilling, now they won't let anybody do it. But the Polish government, of course, must know because it took over. And there was a Polish general of the special forces whose name I do not remember. I know he was really mad at me at one point because I had referred to him as being Russian, because Google translated it wrong. It was honest mistake.
Hmm.
The operation was under the auspices of Russian control, but it was a Polish general. He was in charge. He's still a big shot, and he still goes out there today to talk to some of the people because he was the one that was in charge of blowing up the
But
bunkers around the castle.
you
Uh,
mean out there in these mountains?
yeah, in out in Riese.
Out
He
there
was in what's it called in the castle Schanz Castle. The old
Mhm.
bunkers, 70s, the Germans had put up were blown up, and some of the underground was sealed. That was him and his men. So already then, the Polish government had an interest in knowing and getting rid of some of the wartime remains, and also what is happening. So there's still someone knowing things, and I keep wondering if he doesn't know more than he's been telling. He spends time with the local researchers and those who crawl around and investigate. And I remember the gentleman, and I can't remember his name either because, like I said, I haven't talked about it
Mhm.
for a while. Who he leased one of the big mines, the big tunnel complexes, Yukovic, no, the big one where they can sail the little boat, and
Yeah, I know him.
you know him. He tried to drill a parallel tunnel, a drill into to see if there was a tunnel next to. uh,
Mhm.
because he was told there was, and they fined him thousands of euros and prohibited him by law and all sorts of things just for drilling a hole to see if there's something else. So somebody's actively stopping a further research.
Yeah.
Um,
There was a case. As I mentioned, I will not be able to say about all such cases, but especially that I will have to quit soon. But but you know, uh, there was a giant mine which bankrupted before the war and was taken over for military purposes as a military facility uh, um, by the SS, and it had three large elevator shafts. Yes, mine, very large.
we're
Such
not talking about not the one by the Henge, the other one further away.
one of them was close to the Henge, but this building for the machinery of the elevator doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
It was in 1990s. I remember I've been there, but yeah, I saw it. But the large elevator shafts, so large that the building for the machines for the elevators was the size of a tenement, large building,
Hmm.
and there were three such a large shafts for elevators, and one of them was in a forest, some distance from the asphalted paved road. Yeah, I mean, and I don't remember when it happened, but it was about 20 years ago, I guess. It was a time that when there was no mobile phone signal out there, and this building didn't have any telephone, line, so was isolated or disconnected, deserted.
Yeah.
And in this building, which previously housed engines for elevators, people after the war they moved in and they were living in this building and apparently unaware that there is a 450-meter deep shaft under them,
Really?
and and the building looked like a regular tenement, only that it didn't have any basement, because the basement was on the level of a normal first floor. uh, Everything stood on a large concrete plate, maybe half a meter larger than the circumference of the building. But on one night, something has happened which could be a story for a good horror movie. That they woke up in the middle of the night. The entire building was the interior of the entire building was getting cold. Was getting colder. The cold air moved in, and as they have realized after a while, uh, because maybe there was some noise, that woke them up. I don't know, but they have realized that the so-called basements, which were as I mentioned, at the level of the first floor, have a great hole in them. It just broke the so-called cork that is blocking the shaft. It just broke into pieces, and before they started to realize fully what happened, there were two cement mixers which through the door to the staircase, just you know pumped their two cement mixers, which is a cement mixer, which is contains 6 or 4 usually cubic meters of concrete.
Yeah.
So it was 8 to 12 cubic meters, so some 20 tons of concrete. And initially, when I heard the story, I didn't believe it. So I drove there with a friend of mine. Told them that I'm construction inspector, asking if they feel well, if nothing else is happening, if there is any need, perhaps any help needed, and so on. So they told me, they confirmed this story, and there was still some kind of uh, solidified concrete in front of the staircase on the lawn.
So who showed
in
up with?
in the middle of the night, within a couple of hours, when nobody out there was able to call, to make any phone call.
That's
Nobody of this. It would be physically impossible for any of the inhabitants of this building to call any services, police or firefighters or whoever. It
so
just happened.
somebody below must have known. Somebody in the tunnels must have known. So the tunnels.
There must have been some informer, I suspect, among the inhabitants who was able to communicate this request, and but it is one of such a strange stories.
Is the house still there? Do they still live there?
Yes, it is still there.
Do they still live there, do you think?
They still live in it. Yeah.
I wonder if that would be worth going as a visit and ask them about that.
I may show you on some occasion when you
because there was always the story that the Germans left behind some caretakers to keep an eye on things, and I still have the impression that there are people caretaking, because if I show up there as, hello, I'm historian reporter, I'm talking about this and this, you get two things. You get one group of people who will say nothing, and then you get the other group of people who will show you amazing things and nothing, who will take you to all the interesting places and tell you interesting stories that may or may not be true, but it will never actually show you anything of consequence. It seems like very much that there's okay, of course, people, they have to make money, they have to gossip, there's always that. But it seems that there's a deliberate effort to push out as much counter information to distract from people actually finding out what is going on there or what is still there. Just it's a very interesting area.
Yes, it still is. What I can say is that I'm not basing it on any legends, but on things that I saw personally.
Yeah,
and I have been followed out there.
Yeah, I know they're drilling. Last year, they started doing a excavation for water, not far, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 kilometers from the Henge on the other side of that mountain. They're drilling out, and they found some tunnels. I wrote them. Of course, they didn't respond, because I don't know if that's a Polish tradition, not answering emails. That seems to be across the board in Poland. If you write museums or wherever you write, no one ever responds. Certainly not the government. But they were doing some excavation. They said they're looking for water rivers, something. But they found some old tunnel systems. And I'm just quite curious to go by and see what they were doing up there, because it sounds very strange that they were just happened to be looking in that area, looking for something that.
By the way, a friend of mine, a geologist, has pointed my attention to the fact that there were, the water out there and in the closer and further the vicinity was examined, and I mean there were samples taken and so on. But out there, as to the water in the Ludwikowice slash Ludwigsdorf, Ludwigsdorf is a German name.
Yes.
The results were classified, and I have such a confirmation on paper for
Mm.
this. The results were classified because the water is radioactive
Ah,
out
well,
there.
that seems to be going on a lot. I'm still fighting with the Austrians about Bergkristall, which
Yeah,
it's it all points still back to that there's I believe the Germans they tested a nuclear device or several. I am certain of that. I'm
and the
certain.
means of the means of transporting and developing a weapon
Yes,
to deliver it.
yes,
Mhm.
and I'm also certain that the research that we know of is not nearly complete of the research they were actually doing. Um,
Mhm.
and that is one thing I am now that we have a new.
Yes, yes, but sorry, but what I can say is that I've heard, I've been in various places, I've encountered various, stories, but this is really unusual. I don't recall, or, I never heard of any such a situation where after 70 years, I mean 70 years after the war, such a things would be going on constantly still.
Yeah,
It's really unusual, it's really unprecedented.
it is the omission of information that gives us an idea that they are hiding something. Because if they weren't hiding anything, they would just open all the files and show us and let people dig and look wherever they wanted. It's the denial of access that is suspicious to me.
Yeah,
Because,
that's right, that's right.
and it is on all of these sites. Uh, there's most of the tunnel factories and things where they were building. They may be sealed off because they're dangerous, but they're not really. You don't have the impression they're hiding anything.
Hmm,
But when you go to the S3 or Bergkristall or you go anywhere near the Riese, they're actively obstructing you from looking. They're actively hiding. And if you're still actively hiding something, it cannot just be because of bureaucrats' favorite antics that no one ever got fired for saying no, because there's been so many requests that you would think if it was fine to talk about it, somebody would have. Or you would have found the documents that you were presented with in secrecy. Why are you being given these things in secrecy if it wasn't being covered up?
yeah,
So,
yes, it is unprecedented, because if you would uh, look into, for example, an index in a book about the Third Reich, any book, you'd hardly find anything from the Third Reich that would be of any value today,
true.
except for example, gold. But I don't think that gold itself would be worth such a, ado as in this case, subject of interest of various countries.
No, I don't believe the gold train. The gold train story, I don't believe in.
Me neither.
It was quite clear, and I looked at all the documentation for the gold was melted down for the war effort. If they had that much gold, it would have gone to Berlin, been melted down by the Prussian mint, sent to Switzerland, and
Hmm.
traded for what they needed. Or just,
Evacuated,
yes,
in other
there
words.
wouldn't
Yeah,
be that
that
much
would,
gold sitting waiting for the Russians to show up and then disappear. It's just,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
I mean, maybe individual units have stolen a couple of things here and there. They buried,
yeah,
absolutely. Um, but for something that big, this is bigger than that. There's a technological picture that's missing. And now that we have a new administration that has vowed to open all files, I have, of course, petitioned to the congressman and the senator in charge of this for these files. And I'm still hoping that one day we'll be able to have a talk with the Russians about what they found, because the Russians must have known to a large
yeah.
extent what was there.
They did know. Yes, I have such a signals. Yes, they
Yeah.
did know.
And the same thing about when the Russian general handed over Ordrov in '93. The Russian commander said to the German commander, as you know, you'll be amazed about what's in the underground here.
Yes,
Well, I would
but
like
it's
to talk to
blown
that.
up. The entrances are blown up. It's inaccessible.
Yeah. And again, because now, of course, the Germans know and they won't tell.
Yeah.
So we can only hope that the Americans or the Russians' files of what they found will somehow be found or be released. And that is my hope. That is my one singular hope for the new administration is please release those documents and let us know what you did with Kammler when you found him.
Yes, but the situation is under control, I'm afraid,
You think?
and will be for in the near future.
It is deeper than that. I was told that what really happened to Hitler will be released in 2045, 100 years after.
There is a lot of still classified things,
Yeah.
in the federal archives. I've been in the NARA archive, which is federal archive, government archive in the United States, close to Washington, in College Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was talking with the historians out there in this archive. I mean, employees of this archive. And to my amazement, there was still, things above top secret. A few people realize that such a things exist, that such a classifications exist. But there is, for example, I don't remember exactly, but I remember such a group of files classified under the designation top secret special distribution. For example,
Mm-hmm.
there was one thing that suggested something above top secret.
Yeah.
And the other one was a couple of boxes, 2 or 3 or 5 boxes. I don't remember exactly how many. The top secret for the disposal of the Joint Chiefs of Staff or something like that. I don't remember either exactly. I would have to, it was maybe 15 years ago when I was talking about it out there. But there are still things that are still classified, such from the World War II period.
Well, if you have anything specifics that they denied you, if we can try now. At least we can try with the new leadership. Maybe something. But you're right. I thought it was.
It's under control and will be under control until the time will come for this.
Yeah, and I see just the very thing of.
I mean, I know it.
Yeah, I'm afraid I have to agree. And you see that in the Kennedy assassination papers that they're now going to finally release the last 14,000 pages. And I'm saying, well, okay, but it's going to be anticlimactic. You're not going to find the release. You're not going to find the 3 different hitmen's invoice for. You're not going to find the what you really want to hear. You're not going to find because no one put that in writing. And if they did put it in writing, they most certainly didn't hide it in the archives. Yeah. They destroyed it. And you see
an open question is also what did the Americans might have had, and what the Russians may have collected.
Yeah.
To what extent it was comprehensive, enabling us to understand what was going on out there. But apart from that, there are Germans also who are guarding it. And I had such an encounter once. It was, I guess, in 2011. I don't remember exactly. And they seem to me that they have, it under control in keeping the secret until a proper time, which will come. I have such a more or less such a message from them.
I will certainly hope it will come. Um, but
It, it,
it's
the truth will won't fade away. It won't fade away. In a in if I may say so, but it will play a role in the future yet.
it
It's
will
hard
have
to
to.
it's hard to imagine, but I know that.
I absolutely agree, because these are one of the pillars that our reality is standing on, which is
Yeah,
not evident. We're
yeah.
standing on things we don't know what is, which of course doesn't make our foundation very, very.
Part of the larger game about the future is to uh, you know undermine the so-called established truths, and it will play a role in such a re-evaluation of reality, I would say.
I wonder if that is the way forward now for the, shall we say, the Western reform movements or conservative movements, in order to pull
The
the rug out on what was, by telling them, by exposing the lies they have told.
No, not exactly in this way, but there will come a time when people will no longer believe in the things that they did before, and many views of reality will change.
Yes,
I could give you numerous examples of such a things which are um, predictable and inevitable,
give me one.
and this will be part of it. Not necessarily in the not. We are now in a stage where all structures are crumbling
Yes,
and will disappear eventually. But the main problem will be not a political order or social order, but things in the people's heads which have to be rebuilt. And I mean, I refer to this rather than the present situation.
yes, we're still in a transition. Really, we're
Yes,
not.
but it will develop pretty quickly. More
Interesting.
or less, the crucial, time is this year. I believe. It seems to be. It
Very
will
interesting.
not. It will not take. I mean, uh, the uh, deep reconstruction of building of a new world in a way will take a lot of time. Because it will be a generational process. It will take new people, new generation, free from the burdens of the old world, who will be really able to build something really new, on of a new quality, so to speak. But generally, the crucial phase, I mean, turning point, you may call it this way. I think it's quite close.
Very interesting.
Sorry for such a, making you commotion,
No, no. These are
but
the things why I have decided to stay alive despite all odds, because I want to see this. I want to come out on the other side, and I want to know what they know.
it will
Uh,
be very interesting, because nothing of this kind has ever taken place in the history of humanity. Nothing.
are we still looking at two groups under the surface pulling in different directions, or are we looking at a secret war amongst entities that are struggling for the old and against the new?
No, no, it
Is
will be
this
something different. I would describe it. Sorry for repeating myself, but as a psychological process, the most important things that will be, determining the future is what will be going on with people's minds, and the, you know uh, changing of perception. But it will not rely on, frequency of vibrations, as many understand it, because this will be serious reevaluations, of the psychological foundation of the man. of the of human, of the human. But uh, it will involve the complete dissolution of the existing structures, including societies and culture. And on this, a new reality will be built with based on how I don't know how I can find the English word for this, but mm, after a trauma, people are reacting to the reacting out, so to speak, and I'm trying to describe it, uh, uh, and essentially they are. It consists in trying to do things in the opposite way, so, like in a growing up teenager
Yes.
reacts out the trying is trying to distinguish himself or herself. Sorry, I'm tired. From the parents and from the old generation, and more or less in such a way it will take place. But what you know at the for the end, if I may, because
Yes.
I have to finish
Yes.
slowly. Uh, it's not the economical collapse that will be the worst, and not the societal collapse even. The worst thing that will take place, and the most terrifying will be what will be going in the people's heads. You will be, maybe you will not be surprised, but many people will be surprised. But on the other hand, uh, the key to the future is also in the reevaluation of the contact with reality in people. That there will be major change. People, there is no understanding basically in this world of the human development, or development of the humanity as such. But it's a blank spot. But people don't realize how deep changes may how deep consequences may be after such a changes. But it will be something of this kind, rather than fall of governments and so on, because the main stage of this game is within human minds.
So is that what we are seeing now as a preparation for people to lessen the shock of what's coming?
Yes,
Is we're
it's a
seeing the
kind. I'm sorry that I'm sorry. I'm saying is so in such an authoritative way. Sorry, I'm tired, but without the full explanation, as if it would be some revelations of some kind. But I just cannot develop these stories fully, and I mean explain everything in entirety. But yes, it will be. mm I'm sorry, I forgot what to say.
you have to
I'm
prepare
tired. I'm tired.
you have to prepare people mentally for significant change. And we're seeing upheaval in communication and media and distrust in media things. Information have to come from somewhere. And if people are starting now, at least some people are starting to realize that what they have believed is not it's true, starting that journey slowly before they are being told the full truth of what's to come, would that not lessen the shock for some at least, not for all, but for some?
Mm,
Preparing them that there's changes.
People will realize that the world doesn't end. It's not ending, and that they will have to work out some solutions, look for solutions. Some will develop the solution, such as solutions by themselves. Some will copy solutions appearing everywhere.
Mm.
But there will be a sense of urgency to define the reality, or rather the contact with reality, in a new way, to uh, abandon the imagination of the old world and start building something from scratch, because it will be apparent that this world was based on false foundations, on illusions, on lies, and so on. Shortly speaking, sorry that I cannot
No,
explain it
I think I know
fully.
where you're going, and I think we should do that in a different chat where we can start from there, because this is a bigger conversation. That's much
But
broader.
the situation will develop, and
Yeah.
maybe we will return it as it will develop.
So the books that you've read, come out lately, are there any of them going to come out in English?
Not yet. Maybe later.
Do you have a publisher over here?
I publish it myself,
Would you
but
like
I
a
publish
publisher
it.
over here?
Excuse me.
Would you like a publisher over here? English for English speaking books in America and Britain?
I think that I would probably would like to have a publisher out there, but not yet.
Okay, when
I,
you're ready.
I would prefer to wait for the right time for it,
Okay.
which has not yet come.
One thing I do think is you take the second edition of Wunderwaffe and have that published in English, because it hasn't been. And I'm still picking my way through the Polish edition.
I have signed a contract with the publisher.
Oh, you did?
Which has I mean for the volume of the Wunderwaffe that already exists.
But
which
you wrote an updated version. You wrote a new version of Wunderwaffe with the updated one.
Yeah, I did. Maybe I think about it. I think about it.
I mean, after all, you changed a lot of history and a lot of historical thinking from that one book alone, and everything you add to that, people would want to read.
I think that you are exaggerating, but that never even crossed my mind that such an idea.
You are.
I mean.
But you still did. You are the father of a whole new train of learning of World War II technology. You broke that story, and that will forever be yours. So you'll still see you quoted by everyone ever.
Perhaps some extent, but to some extent. But I didn't imagine this. I mean, no. I didn't realize that it made such a mistake.
No, well, you still managed to make history, so that's good enough. That's a good enough start.
Maybe. Okay.
All right. Don't worry. I'll be the one to buy you the proverbial cup of coffee for it then.
I will remember about it. I think about it.
And I will see you.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a couple of months.
Thank you for invitation in the first place.
My name is Tino Struckmann. I run Lost Battlefields. Every year, I travel around the world to try to bring you to all the most interesting historical military locations from modern wars and the World War II special projects, battlefields, forts, fortresses, and tunnels, everything else. Things you may not be able to see or go to yourselves. Please join me on Patreon or join Lost Battlefields through the website so you get access to all my files and my notes. It really does help, and like, follow, share here on the channel if you can. That helps too.